Hello everybody and welcome back. This time around we are actually doing a different type of video, and this type of video is going to be a little bit more low-key. I'm sort of testing it out and seeing whether or not anyone is particularly interested. But I am currently inside Noggit, and Noggit is the editing software that allows me to make mods for WoW. Sorry about that. My voice is almost a little bit gone right now. So I wanted to go ahead and just show you guys a bit about how I go about doing my work. It's not necessarily I'm not going to be starting from the beginning. I'm just going to be showing you in this particular case what I want to do. So one of the things that I wanted to do here is I made this fork. Which is part of my Silver Hand mod, and I have this fork. Inside the game, it doesn't look very nice. If I have the chance, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna hop on over to the game right now. We'll show you that, and then we'll jump on back to Noggit. Alright, it's a little bit different right now because server time, it's nighttime right now. But this is the fork as it currently stands in the mod. And I'm not really happy with it because when you come over here, the road sort of like lifts up and is all sort of craggly. And this, I mean, I guess if we take a stroll down this area right now, it might be okay, because I remember having flattened this out a bit and having raised the ground, which is what I kind of do to make sure that the land has a little bit of like contour. And also, roads shouldn't be perfectly flat, you know, they should have wear on them. You know, this is sort of like medieval times, so we should expect roads to be sort of dented into. This is okay. I might actually like raise it a little bit on this side just to give it a little more interesting thing, and I might do something here. I'm not terribly happy with the way this currently looks, so I'll also be taking care of that. But anyways, let's hop back onto Noggit and continue showing you what I was showing you. Right, so what I'm showing you now is essentially, I've actually just repaired what I wanted before. So before, the road sort of like went up this bit here, and it was going a little bit up there. So what I decided to do was to, first of all, raise this area a bit more, and just make sure that it looks absolutely right. And like right now, right here, I think this should have a little bit more grass and a little bit more dirt. And here we go, something like that. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yeah, that should work. So that's already looking a lot better in terms of what I wanted to do. But in order to do that, I also had to widen the path because I cut this off and I made this. So right now, I'm going ahead and I'm going to use the paint tool, which is currently at 0.38 strength. And that'll allow me to sort of imitate the natural pattern of the path, which is not... It's kind of splotchy, I think, would be the best way of describing it, but also at the same time bearing in mind what I just said, that, you know, roads should not entirely look perfect. They should look like they've had some wear and tear to them. That seems alright. It's not, you know, perfect, but it's definitely a lot better than what we had before. So that is one part. that I wanted to repair. You'll notice with me I have a tendency to, outline a bit more and highlight a bit more. So it doesn't look out of place, but it definitely, you can see that certain parts of how I paint are a little bit more stressed. I was playing the map with a friend, and he suggested I put a pole here, or like a signpost or something. And I thought that the best thing was possibly, and so the ideal thing would be to um, actually copy it from somewhere else. So I just came here and there was this signpost. I did Control C to copy. It's currently, you can see it here. I have it selected right here at the bottom. And we're gonna see what my friend is saying. I used Control V right there to put that post down, and it's a bit of a problem because it's a little bit green, so I might actually have to leave that for another occasion, because I don't really remember right now where to find a non-green slimish signpost. So we'll go for the next best thing, which I think is that I wanted to put a triangular type of fence there. If I end up going for the post, which I probably think I won't, because let's face it, I'm not. It's a little bit more complicated doing posts in the game right now. I'm gonna make this piece a little bit bigger, because maybe it can double a bit as, the signpost, but also, god damn it, but also serve as like a dividing point. Let's move that right there. Put that's in there. It's looking good. Over here, we're not connected, so let's bring that in a tiny bit, and let's put it in there. Let's see, is that the best we can do? Let's try and lift that. I lift that with the wheel button on the mouse and shift. It's really not that difficult. I'll show you right now. If you go to help, you go to key bindings right here. This will tell you all of the commands for working inside. Oh, cancel. Not the right thing I wanted to do. It tells you pretty much how to do everything. There's no particular secret as to the navigations of the program. It's not that I know any special moves that'll make you better. You just have to look at the shortcuts, play around, move some models, just sort of test it out and see how it works for you. Sorry about that, all that squeaking with the chair. And you essentially just do that. The reason I'm doing this video, if you want, is for people to just get an idea of how you can actually make these areas. So right now I'm just flattening a bit some of the areas that I think look a little bit irregular. So right there, just that little patch there is looking irregular. That right here is also looking a little bit irregular. And as you can see, it's sort of flattening in a gentle manner, and that already has given me what I wanted in terms of in terms of effect. Ground here is not looking too great. Just gonna go ahead and touch up some of these edges, and at the same time give this path a little more irregular appearance. It's very uniform right now. And sometimes that happens. It happens often with a lot of the things that I do. Anyways, is that I'll go back to them after a while, and I'll see, okay, yeah, no, I didn't do exactly the best job at some of these things. So right now, we'll go ahead and we'll just make some of this a little bit splotchier. That's looking a lot better. You know, do this here, there. Um, just kind of like all over the place. Once it looks like, if it looks like it's been worn, I think you're doing like a good job. You know, because unless for whatever reason you're dealing with sort of like an impeccable situation, let's say you're trying to make the difference between like a well-kept like city street and a road is that, yeah, well, quite possibly the city streets are going to be in much better condition. But it also depends on whatever it is that you're building. If it's like an elven city street, like a blood elf street, yeah, it's probably going to be well maintained. If it's like a street in a Tauren village in Mulgore, probably not. You know, it's probably going to be something a little bit more, you know, trampled. They're a bunch of, you know, bull people. Humans use horses, so obviously, and carts, and you know, you have to pay attention to the detail that Blizzard puts into a lot of their designs. I've sort of learnt just by looking at what they do and seeing like, okay, so how do you make your roads? Okay, how do you make them look a certain way? And then I just try and emulate that. I think the road is looking much better already. And so I had an issue here with this because it was kind of odd. Right, well, let's go ahead and... Oh, shit. I tried to use the wrong one. But there you go. So I raised the terrain, and that's not really what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was... I wanted to actually just try and smooth this area out a bit, and get it a little bit smoother than what it was, because it was just a little bit off, like right here. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's almost as if the land was slanted in a way, and that wasn't really looking like the best thing. Now here we're okay with these dimples on the sides. In fact, now that it's a lot more prominent, I might actually just bring it up a bit more. And because it is... Oh, wait a second, let's see. This is the highlight grass for this area. You know, come here and just give it a nice little highlight. Give that bump a nice little highlight. Right? Go in here, sort of just double check that edge is looking, you know, nice. And there you go. You have like a very integrated and natural looking sort of bump alongside the road. I think I'm also going to do the same thing here, just to break up the natural slope of this sort of hill. I'm just going to make the radius a little bit bigger. And oops, oh, what is this? It seems, right, there might be a little issue here. Let me bring up the quadrants. So this, so you'll run into this. This is a good, this is actually a good example of a particular problem that you might run into. So Blizzard ADT chunks only support 4 textures. They can be any texture, but they're limited to 4. So that's how you'll explain that mountains and areas, and you have to be careful. You have to plan the areas exactly in order to effectively take care of your textures. So this area here has 4 textures. It has the base grass, it has dirt, it has the road, and it has the highlight grass. Now, if we look at this second one doesn't have that. It has the road, it has the dirt, the dark grass, and some stone. And the reason for that is because we actually start having part of the hill that's right here. So there's no room for lighter grass. Right. So what do we do with that? There's a couple of things that we might try and do to just get away with not having that additional option there. One of the things that we can do is we can actually place things on the grass that are actually going to break it up visually when we get to a certain part of the game. So for example, or when we're actually inside the game. So I'm going to copy this bush, which is a bush of the area, and I'm going to place it here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because I don't want it too prominent. I don't want it, I don't want it to be prominent, so prominent that it'll cover these features here. Like, I want players to see this clearly when they get to the area. Now, what else? I have some bushes here, which don't belong to this area, but are actually close enough that I could maybe get away with using one, and we'll have to sort of check it out right now. So let's see if we can make this smaller, bring it down there, and say, will that work? It could. We're going to check. This might actually fix a couple of issues that we've been having with this area as a whole. I've been trying to figure out what to do with the entrance that would make, sense. So let's just try and do this. Here, it's just most of these actions are being done by essentially just grabbing my mouse and doing combinations of either left click, right click, holding down shift or control, and alt sometimes. And sometimes you forget. Like right now I couldn't remember exactly what it was that I wanted to get for tilt. So I just went ahead and I did it. I just ran through all the key combinations. So it's it's really sort of like that you get this, that you get enough practice to start doing this. Now, not everything from every angle looks good, and that's another thing that you have to remember when you're doing this, is that sometimes some of this stuff doesn't look, it just doesn't look right at certain angles. So the way that I had it before, it just didn't look right, and it didn't look right from the other direction either. So sometimes you just have to go